I want to talk about Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. The three-peat may be inevitable with this franchise. The Kansas City Chiefs over the last few years have been one of the most dominant teams in the NFL. They have been to 7 straight AFC championships, 7 straight with Patrick Mahomes. And when I look at the situation the Chiefs are in right now, they're better equipped to win a Super Bowl this season than they were last year. Let's go back and look at their last Super Bowl wins. I want to start off with what happened last year with this team. They went against the San Francisco 49ers. They went against Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. A very good football team the San Francisco 49ers had. Rightfully so. They made the Super Bowl just like the Kansas City Chiefs. But the Chiefs, they were dealing with a lot. The wide receiving position was terrible with this team. Besides Rashee Rice, besides Travis Kelce, they did not have reliable guys on the outside. So you're relying on Patrick Mahomes to work out with his magic, and you're relying on Isaiah Pacheco and his legs in the offensive line play. It was not good last season. Jawan Taylor has not been a good tackle with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now in the playoffs, he plays a little bit better, but he is still one of the most penalized players in this league. This has been back-to-back occurrences right now with him. Overall, he's just not a good player, but he will have moments to where he steps up. It's a lot of offside penalties, and it's a lot of holding penalties also on his side of the field. But yet they still won that Super Bowl last year, only relying on Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce. And shout out to Mecole Hardman. He did catch the game-winning pass in overtime. But the Chiefs found a way to overcome the adversity. They won that Super Bowl. Let's go back to the year before against the Philadelphia Eagles. It was so many question marks about the Chiefs at that point in time. How would they look without Tyreek Hill? How would their offense look in general without having Tyreek? Can they take the top off still? How are they going to look without having his speed and having his presence on the field? They won a Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles. And yes, it came down to a Jalen Hurts fumble. Shout out to the Chiefs for taking advantage of that. And it also came down to the fact that James Bradberry was holding on to Juju Smith-Schuster, and it pushed Harrison Butker right into field goal range. And they won that Super Bowl. A couple of years before, Patrick Mahomes is a younger player. He defeats the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl. Yes, Jimmy Garoppolo did have his bad moments, but the Chiefs were down in that matchup. They came back and they won that game. The only Super Bowl where the Chiefs just came out there and they just looked 100% bad was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And half of their offensive line was injured. And early in that game, the Chiefs, they showed a lot of fight. I'm not coming onto this video to tell you guys that, hey, the Chiefs are going to win their 3rd Super Bowl. The other 3 teams can't match up with them. That's very disrespectful to the Philadelphia Eagles, the Washington Commanders, and also to the Buffalo Bills. But I have seen this movie before with this organization. They always find a way to go out there and win. They won 10 games by 1 score this season. 10 games. They defeated the Cincinnati Bengals, walk-off field goal fashion, defensive pass interference. They defeated the Baltimore Ravens in week 1. They started the year off by going out there and winning games by 1 possession when Isaiah Likely's toe was out of bounds. And the only team to defeat them in the regular season when they have had their starters all in the game was the Buffalo Bills. So this weekend's going to be a very good matchup. I do believe that the Chiefs have a great chance to win that game. But at the same time, Josh Allen, he is no slouch. And I go back to what happened a couple of years ago. 13 seconds left on the clock. Patrick Mahomes, he gets the football to Tyreek Hill. He gets the football to Travis Kelce. Kick the field goal. We go into overtime. And that's all she wrote. That game has so much of an impact on the NFL. You can go back and look at that game in history. It has changed the overtime rules in the postseason. So now the overtime rules, it used to be like this. If the Chiefs go down there and they score a touchdown, the game is over with. That's no longer the case. If the Chiefs go into overtime, the Buffalo Bills, this time around, they will give Josh Allen the opportunity to go out there and score, kind of like college. But that game right there has had a huge impact on this league and will forever have an impact. That is the type of impact the Kansas City Chiefs are having right now. When I get into the referees discussion about the refs helping out the Chiefs, they always find a way to throw the penalty flags for the Kansas City Chiefs. I can agree with that. But at the same time, did you guys not watch Tom Brady and the New England Patriots? The Tuck rule kicked off their dynasty. And you have Tom Brady come out many decades later and saying, hey, yeah, that was a fumble. So those instances do happen. I'm not trying to come on here and defend the Kansas City Chiefs and say, hey, the referees don't play a part into why they're winning games. They just don't make the same mistakes that the opposing team is making. They have benefited the most from penalties since 2018. That is a bit scary. But at the same time, you hear Travis Kelce come out, the same with Patrick Mahomes, that Andy Reid is telling those guys in practice, in training camp, in OTAs, we have to work on this. It's the little details. Same with what Patrick Mahomes said in the Super Bowl in overtime right after the game. He said the guys are coming up to him in practice and they kept telling him, what are the overtime rules? They kept asking him, do you know the overtime rules just in case we go to overtime? That is being prepared. And that's what Andy Reid has done with this team. But when I look at the roster, the reason why I believe that they're better off right now than they have been in the last few years, they have options everywhere. Travis Kelce has slowed down. He has slowed down. He's not the same player that he once was 3 to 4 years ago with that speed, but he can still get open. Look at what he did against the Houston Texans. He can get open. He can break a tackle. He can go for 20 to 25 yards. That's major in the playoffs. He can keep the drive going. And this is one thing the Chiefs have been great at since they drafted Patrick Mahomes and since they've developed him, is moving the chains on third down. You rarely see the Chiefs be in 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15. They're always in 3rd and manageable, so they can run the football and then possibly go for it on 4th down. And when I look at Patrick Mahomes, the way that he's able to utilize the weapons that you have with Travis Kelce, with Xavier Worthy, who has been a very good rookie on the back end of the regular season. And he was making some spectacular catches against the Houston Texans. So you have him, and he can take the top off the defense. He can't do it consistently just yet because he is still young into his career. But look at what he did against the Los Angeles Chargers in the first matchup. We rarely get to see Patrick Mahomes have those deep passes like how he had earlier in his career with Tyreek Hill, but they are still there with guys like Xavier Worthy, just like McCole Hardman in the Super Bowl a year ago against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, McCole Hardman is on IR, but he may be able to play in the Super Bowl. Right now, he is dealing with a knee injury. You have DeAndre Hopkins, who you made a trade to bring him in at the beginning of the season. And DeAndre Hopkins, he's not the same player that he once was, but he is still a very good veteran to have. Look at him against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this season. Yet another game that they won by 1 score in overtime. The veteranship that you have entering the playoffs is going to be major because DeAndre Hopkins, he has won some playoff games before in his career with the Houston Texans. He's been here. You have Travis Kelce. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's been to the playoffs numerous times before Patrick Mahomes with Alex Smith. And Patrick Mahomes, he has that veteranship. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion, just like Travis Kelce. And you talk about Andy Reid. He's had a lot of success in this league before the Kansas City Chiefs and definitely with the Chiefs right now. So it's going to be hard to go out there and defeat this team because they have been here before so many different times. And I look at this offensive line. This offensive line was a problem. The left tackle position was a major problem. They slid Joe Thuney over. Give Andy Reid a lot of credit for that. Andy Reid has been a huge reason to why this team has won the Super Bowls that they have won over the last few years. I feel like he's always the guy that gets swept underneath the rug because you're looking at Travis Kelce, you're looking at Tyreek Hill, you're looking at Patrick Mahomes. He's the man that's setting these guys up in the situations. Not too many coaches remove their star guard to tackle. They'll just let the rookie go out there and they'll let him figure it out later on. And you saw this year, that Cleveland Browns game, that was the game that Patrick Mahomes went down with the ankle injury. And Joe Thuney was playing left tackle in that matchup. He had a lot of struggles. But right now, even when Joe Thuney is having his worst day at the left tackle position, it is still better than anyone else on this team playing that position. And this is a man that is one of the best guards in the game. And he has done a decent job protecting the blind side of Patrick Mahomes. And shout out to him for being a versatile offensive lineman. Now, when it's time to go out there and repay him again, I hope the Chiefs remember that because he's going to ask for a lot of money when it's time to go out there and pay him on another contract extension. So that helps the offensive line. And it helps out the run blocking situation also with Isaiah Pacheco, who missed majority of this season dealing with a leg injury. And you have Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is still a solid running back. They don't have that explosive run game anymore. Isaiah Pacheco hasn't looked right just yet coming back from that leg injury. Kareem Hunt, when he was with the Chiefs, the first time around when they had Alex Smith, he was a terrific running back. He could get you 50 to 60 yards every now and then. You don't see that right now because he is older. And we saw this with the Cleveland Browns over the last few years. He's not the same player with the explosiveness coming out of the backfield, but he is a bowling ball. Once again, he can get you 2 to 3 yards on 3rd and 2, on 3rd and 4. He can make it closer for you. This is why you bring in those players. And now you have him mixed in with Isaiah Pacheco. You don't have to give Isaiah Pacheco 10 to 15 carries a game. You don't have to rely on him like how you did against the Philadelphia Eagles, like how you did last year against the San Francisco 49ers. You have those two running backs that can come in now and they can split carries. And you have Samaje. He can come in, he can catch the football out of the backfield, and he can run in between the tackles. So when I look at the wide receiving core, they're deeper. They may not be able to go out there and beat you over the top on a consistent basis, but they can catch the football. And this was a problem that the Chiefs dealt with last season. You had Kadarius Toney dropping the football all over the place, fumbling the football, being a negative on this team. And he was being negative off the field. You bring in some solid pass catchers. You also have Juju Smith-Schuster. He had a great game this year against the New Orleans Saints. And I don't expect for Juju Smith-Schuster to go out there and give you 2 receiving touchdowns in a game, but he's a veteran. He's won a Super Bowl with this team before. He was a very good wide receiver with the Steelers when he's a number 2 guy. And now we're talking about him being a number 3 or a number 4 option. He can still come inside the slot and give you a lot of problems. So now they have more versatility on the offensive end with Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes, he is still one of the best players to have in this league at that quarterback position. This was not his best regular season, but it's at the point now with the Chiefs, the regular season really doesn't matter. As long as you go out there, you win enough games, and you go out there and you can have a bye week in the postseason, you're going to be fine. That bye week was so essential to the Chiefs because you got 2 weeks off. They didn't play the last week of the regular season. They played their backups. So Patrick Mahomes got to rest that ankle. Travis Kelce got to go out there. He got to rest. And when we talk about this sport being high collision, when you have veterans like him and DeAndre Hopkins, it helps lessen the blow. So now they're refreshed for the postseason. They had those 2 weeks off. That was amazing for all the starters. The same with Isaiah Pacheco, who was still dealing with the aftermath of that leg injury, and with Kareem Hunt. They needed to rest to go out there and really be prepared to face teams like the Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens if they were going to make it. And now we know the Ravens didn't make it. The same with the Buffalo Bills. They're going to be out for revenge to defeat the Buffalo Bills this time around. Now look at the defense for the Chiefs. They did take a step back because they traded L'Jarius Sneed to the Tennessee Titans, but you still have Trent McDuffie. In my opinion, he's the best man-to-man corner in the game. Look at the job that he did on Nico Collins in the first matchup and in the second matchup. And I love what Steve Spagnuolo does. He will put him on the number 2 wide receiver. Your number 1 wide receiver will have to beat double coverage. And it is hard to beat double coverage when Steve Spagnuolo is sending 7 to 8 guys at the quarterback. Notice on third down, this 3rd and long, he doesn't let the quarterback sit back there and he doesn't let him set up shop. We have seen this with other defenses in the postseason this year. They'll only rush 3 to 4 defensive linemen. And you have a quarterback that you're going against like a Josh Allen. You need to bring that pressure. And I look at Steve Spagnuolo. He's one of the best defensive guys in this league to bring the pressure. What many people don't realize, he's the same defensive coordinator that went against Tom Brady in those Super Bowls when they had the New York Giants. And he was on that coaching staff. So he knows a thing or two about coaching up defenses. And even when he doesn't send in a blitz, you have to worry about George Karlaftis. You have to worry about Chris Jones. And George Karlaftis has become a very good pass rusher with this team over the last few years. Chris Jones, I can't say enough good things about him. One of the best defensive players to have. The sack numbers may have not been there this year, but he can beat double teams. He's going to free up guys on the outside. And you look at Charles Omenihu. Charles Omenihu was not able to play last year in the AFC Championship. He wasn't able to play last year in the Super Bowl. This is a very good athletic defensive lineman. He gives you something different. Chris Jones is more so of the game wrecker. He's going to stop the run. He can get to the quarterback, but he doesn't have the speed to him. Not calling him a slow player, but he's not going to keep up with a guy like a Josh Allen. He's not going to keep up with Lamar Jackson. George Karlaftis, he's going to steal the edge. He's going to stop the run. Charles Omenihu, and he's not better than Chris Jones or George Karlaftis, but he is so athletic to where I've seen him keep Lamar Jackson in check, to where I've seen him keep Josh Allen in check, to where he cuts off the sideline. So instead of those guys getting 10 to 15 yards down the field, he's stopping them 4 or 5 yards. He's stopping them behind the line of scrimmage and pushing them out of bounds because he's right there. Adding in that pressure is going to hurt the opposing team from moving the chains and moving across the field. And when you let the secondary go out there, you let them do their jobs, it's going to hurt. Look at what they did against CJ. It was numerous times he's scrambling out. And yes, he would get the first down. But when they put in Charles Omenihu, he had that pressure off the edge, and he was able to keep CJ in check when it needed him the most. And when you look at this linebacking core, it's one guy that stands out in particular, Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton is a very fast linebacker, and he's a very good run stopper, and they can send him through the middle on blitzes also. And you have Jalen Watson. Jalen Watson, when he missed time this season, you saw the secondary take a hit, but as soon as he came back into the game, you saw the defense start to step up yet again in that secondary. He's a very good cornerback. He may not have the same impact like a Trent McDuffie. He may not have the same play-to-play ability in man coverage like a Ahmad Garner, but that doesn't mean that he's not an essential player with the Kansas City Chiefs. And as long as he can stay healthy, that secondary is going to be okay. It may not perform like how they performed last year, but on third down, it's going to be held to move the chains against his defense. They have a top rushing defense, not only in the regular season, but also in the postseason. Yes, Joe Mixon has some good runs, but they kept him off when they needed to the most. And it's going to be very interesting to see how they defend the run game against the Buffalo Bills and possibly against the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles if they do make it to the Super Bowl. But when I look at the Chiefs right now, they continue to answer all the questions. And you look at Leo Chenal. This is a very good linebacker. In week 1 against Lamar Jackson, he had a great game. Be on lookout for some of these unsung heroes this weekend if the Chiefs do advance to the Super Bowl. But when I look at the Kansas City Chiefs, we could talk about the referees helping them out. And it is a lot of questionable calls. I will say that. But at the same time, they have a lot of plays that just make you scratch your head and say, hey, what are you supposed to do? With Patrick Mahomes having that amazing throw to Travis Kelce against the Houston Texans. With them having 13 seconds left on the clock, going down there and defeating the Buffalo Bills a couple of years ago in overtime, defeating the Philadelphia Eagles with that field goal, going out there and beating the San Francisco 49ers in overtime. And I understand what a lot of fans are upset about. It's the fact that this team continues to go out there and they continue to have success year after year. You get fatigued. And it's the same thing that happened with Tom Brady. I don't have a dog in this fight. I just like to see very good football. And when I look at the Chiefs, those 10 games that they won in the regular season by 1 score has also helped them be prepared for games that could be close in the postseason. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about the Kansas City Chiefs, and do you believe that they can win their 3rd Super Bowl in a row? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.